In today's video, I'm going to talk about how to audit your website's SEO. So if you want to get your website ranked on the Google search engines at all, you probably have to start off with auditing your website's SEO. And this is probably the first thing you have to do, because if you can't measure what is there to improve, you cannot actually improve that process. So in today's video, let's talk about how we can audit our website's SEO and use that information that we get using some tools to improve your SEO. So first of all, why do an audit? Now, I briefly mentioned this early on as we started, but an audit is really important to really find out the fine details or the problems that you've been missing out on your site. So 3 points here. First, identify SEO and usability problems. So there are two sides to the coin here. First one is you want to identify SEO. That is basically the problems that the search engine would see on your site. But the second side of the coin is usability problems, and usability problems basically refer more to a user points of view. Basically, if they go to your site on a mobile phone and then your site does not load well on a mobile phone, does not translate well, that's a usability problem. So using a tool like Sitechecker, it will tell us if a particular page on your site is mobile friendly or is a particular page on your site is not mobile friendly. So there's two sides again. One is doing optimization and auditing for the SEO search engines, and the other for real users. But thankfully, we have tools like Sitechecker and also other free tools to help us identify these problems without us having to go through all the pages manually. Next, we want to go into gain opportunities, and this is usually for SEO. So with the problems that we find out, or with the insights that we get from looking at some of these results from a tool, we can often find out opportunities that we can use. For example, you might come across a particular keyword term that you may not have optimized in the past. But if the tool tells you that this is a keyword that is highly searched for, you can take this opportunity to go and improve on the keyword and to rank your site on, well, Google. Now, obviously the next thing to find out is what is working and what's not working, right? So as you go on with your SEO optimization, you optimize this and that, it takes a lot of time. But after a few months, after a few weeks, what is working? Which one of your activities is actually giving you a positive output compared to doing something over and over again and not getting anything out of that? So this is what SEO auditing on the site actually helps us to do. To recap, identify SEO and also usability problems. Number 2, to gain opportunities, usually for SEO rankings, and to find out what is working and what's not working. So what is there to analyze? Now, as we go on into the software later on and to analyze our site, you're going to see a lot of different things. In some chances, right, if you run audit on your site, which has not been optimized for some time, you might find up to hundreds and even maybe thousands of things that you must optimize. Now, for a beginner or someone new, when you see all these problems coming up on the site auditing tool, you might feel a little bit panicky because so many things to optimize, right? But I put down the main 4 things that you want to look at when you audit a site. So these are the 4 major things to optimize immediately once you see them popping up within an auditing software. And they are, first of all, website speed. So website speed is really important because it's said and it's reported that users don't actually wait more than 3 to 4 seconds when they load a website. And with a lot of these users, your customers, browsing sites today on a mobile phone, well, with mobile phones, the speed is always a little bit slower compared to a desktop because it's connected via broadband. Although we have 4G and 5G soon, still the speed as a broadband speed is much slower compared to a wired or Wi-Fi speed on desktop. That's why some sites loads okay on desktop, but when you load it on a mobile phone, it becomes too slow. And if it's too slow, more than 3 to 4 seconds, users get annoyed, they leave the site. Now, when they leave the site after doing a search on Google search, for example, and they leave before loading the site, that tells Google that your site is slow. So Google takes all this kind of information inside and decides which site actually deserves to be ranked first on Google, because if your site is really slow, they probably rank other sites or prioritize other sites which are faster. Now next, we're going to talk about usability errors. So we talked about this earlier on, but one of the biggest things to analyze is to look at usability errors. Is there any error on a mobile view? For example, someone went into your site and this particular page, let's say your contact us page, right? Two small elements on a mobile phone and they have to zoom and pinch to find out the information when they are on a mobile phone. So that's a usability error. Next, we're going to go into page errors. So as your site gets bigger and bigger over the weeks, months, and even years, as you start building more and more on your site, your website will eventually build up more and more pages. With all these pages, it's impossible for a human to go through all of them and to identify if there's any errors. This is when site auditing comes in, because using a software, it will just scan through and crawl through the whole site, tell us which page has a problem. Then we go into keyword optimization. Are our pages on our site optimized for the keywords we want? And with keywords and optimizing them for SEO, normally you want to have the keywords within the title, which is the title of your page, and also the title of post or article itself. Then we have the keyword within the meta descriptions. So meta descriptions are basically what is behind the page. Users don't actually see these words coming up on the page. This is something that is placed behind that particular HTML page, that your web page, and this is read by search engines like Google. So they read up meta descriptions and to find out what is this page really about. So for example, if you have a keyword, let's say iPhone 12 on your page. Now, with this keyword inside your meta descriptions, Google will be able to look at this site and say, oh, this site is about iPhone 12. So that's how it really works. So you want to have keywords inside your meta descriptions. Now next, we want to have our keyword inside as alternate text within images as well. Now that might sound technical. That is basically a keyword which you apply or append to an image, so that in a case when your image does not load due to some reasons, maybe slow internet cases or more, when it does not load, it will show this alternate text, and that alternate text can be a keyword. So Google will use this keyword to find out what is this image really about. And of course, we have our descriptions. So the descriptions are basically what you see on a Google search. If you were to go on Google right now and search for iPhone 12, you might see a few results out there. Title, the permalink, and also the descriptions. So the description is what Google see and what people also see. So ideally, you want to have your keyword inside descriptions as well, because this helps the search engine identify basically what the page is about, and it also helps users identify if whatever they're searching can be found on your page. So coming back to auditing our site. Now, auditing software tells us if our keyword is optimized if we have the keyword within the title, meta descriptions, images, and also descriptions. If the keyword is not inside these four things, then it will come up with an alert and say, hey, you should put that keyword inside this page on whatever page, right? So that's what auditing does. Alright, so when you begin to audit, and we will do this in a while, you'll find out a few things. You'll see a lot of issues on the site, but I urge you not to don't panic, don't get worried, and the order of working on issues is always like this. First of all, you want to work on your website issue. So this is like the top tier of SEO auditing. Once you do a scan, you'll see that you have website issues. So website issues are more major because this covers the whole website, right? Now, in my screenshot here, this is the actual screenshot that you will see in a while of the lead.io, our main website. And on our main website, you can see that we have 0 issues found on site level issues. So normally some issues will be things like if your site is missing an SSL certificate, which is making it not secure, then probably that's something that you have to fix quite immediately, right? Maybe it has some redirection issues. Maybe it has some site-wide slow loading issue. So first of all, always fix your website issues first before going down to page issues. Settle the site level issues and website issues, then we go down to page issues. Now under page level issues, now this scans. The software will scan your pages, each of all these pages that is found on your site. And it'll tell you which page has critical fixes to do, which pages has, well, some improvements to do in terms of warning and notices. Well, it's a good addition to actually correct this when you have the time. So first of all, when you do an SEO audit and come up with your plan to optimize the SEO on your site, always start with website issue, work with that first and then only move down to page issues. And under page issues, there's always, again, 3 more levels. First, work on the critical issues before going to the warning issues and then going to the notices. Alright, let's go into a typical audit tool and I'm going to show you how to audit your site. Alright, so here we are on Google. I'm just going to sitechecker.pro. So a quick announcement per se, right? SiteChecker.pro is a partner of Lead. Basically, as a marketing student at Lead, you get an access to use SiteChecker.pro for your own site and for your own business. Alright, so here we are on SiteChecker.pro and the next thing I want to do is I want to go to App. So I'm going to hit on Go to App and I'll be brought into the dashboard. Now because I've already added my site into SiteChecker.pro, you'll see my site here, the lead.io on the top. Now if you have not added your site to something like SiteChecker.pro, you probably want to create a project and then enter your site. For example, I have just clicked on create project and the thing I have to do is just put in my domain here, like let's say my personal blog, rubencheng.com, and then click on continue. So first of all, what's going to happen is once you enter your site and click on continue, you see this spider. So a spider is like a crawler. It will crawl your site and to find out all the pages on your site. Then you'll start to monitor what's going on in your site. Are there changes along the way and what can we do to improve certain things? Then we look at integrations. Can you integrate this site auditing tool with other tools like Google Search Console and maybe Google Analytics to drive in more data to tally them together? Because sometimes a site auditing tool is not actually exactly accurate. It has to aggregate its data together with another platform to match up to get more accurate data to tell you, to inform you. Then we look at rank tracker. So rank tracker is basically if your ranking online is going up or going down. So this is quite important as well. So this is basically some of the benefits an auditing tool gives us. So I'm going to escape this one because I've already have my site. I'm going to walk you through some of the things that you see on an auditing tool to give you some idea of what you can do and what you can find out from. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my projects by clicking on projects. Let's go into dashboard. Alright, so here we are looking at our site audit of the lead.io. So I'm showing you the exact thing that we see on our site. So it's been some time since we have actually spent some time to optimize our site. You can see our site is not in actually a very good shape. So we're scoring around 69 out of 100 based on the scores in SiteChecker.pro. Again, when you use different auditing tools, you might see different scores. So use this as an indicator only. It's not a means to an end, the numbers here. Alright, so first of all, once you do a site audit, you want to go through your site level issues. And click on this one here and you can see some of the issues, main issues that I have are fixed. For example, we have a favicon. A favicon is basically that small little graphic that appears next to your page title above. You see this one here? That small check there? That's a favicon. Then we have things like HTTP and HTTPS, whether your site is secured. If there's any page that responded with a 404, 404 means a page is in error. When you go to a page, it does not respond you with the content, then that's a 404 error. And then whether your page has a robots.txt file, 2 versions, www and non-www, World Wide Web, that's what www stands for, redirecting to the correct domain name, and a few more things. So these are all basically quite crucial technical SEO elements that is quite important for an on-page SEO optimization per se. Now once we have fixed our site level issues, then we go down into page level issues. So make sure to do that first before coming here. Now under page level issues, we now then zoom down into different types of pages that we have to fix and the pages that we have problems on. So the first thing that you want to go into is to look at the critical issues, of course. So you can see I have no script in head. Let me just zoom into this a little bit. No script in head contains invalid HTML elements. So these are a little bit more technical problems and there's 36 pages affected by this. Now I wouldn't have known about this unless I put in my site into a tool like this. Now you can click on this one here and it will zoom down into these 36 pages and the one that has problems. So you can see, for example, no script in head contains some invalid HTML elements. So we have some added code there which are invalid and probably not used. We can remove them. Now, you can also see the issues in code. If you click on this one, you can also view the page code to see what is exactly the problem. If you do not understand all these codes here, you can take this report, export it as a CSV, and send it off to a developer to fix it for you. Alright, so this is basically one of the issues. I'm going to go back and show you the other issues and quickly go through with you. So we can also see that we have title duplicates, 8 pages of them. So maybe these pages, we have 8 pages within our website, all of them with the same title. So in the eyes of a search engine like Google, they will see that these pages are duplicates. They are copied into 8 pages. And this does not give us any SEO benefit at all. So what we can do is then go into these pages, change the titles for each of them, or delete the ones that we don't use at all. Now, if you have no idea what this means, you can always click on this button here called How to Fix to find out what is this issue about, why is it important, and how to fix the issue. Again, because we're doing technical SEO, this might get a little bit technical. So if it gets too technical for you, it's always a good idea to take this information and pass it on to a developer. Now, so the red ones here are basically critical fixes. These are deemed by the software to be fixes that you have to do immediately. So we have to look into this immediately because it affects our SEO ranking on Google. Now, if you go down into the yellow ones, yellow or orange, we can see that we are missing alternate text. So remember I told you about the image alternate text? So that means we have 108 pages on our site with images that are missing alternate text. And that can be improved, right? So we can go into these 108 pages and start to look at each of these images which needs an alternate text. Now, maybe when we were building these pages, we were building it at a speed so fast that we literally didn't put in the alternate text. Now, while this is not a good practice, it also happens because due to time constraints or due to a project that we had to push out quickly, we skip over a few things. It happens even to the best websites, right? So auditing tells you all these kind of things. So again, I'm not going to go through all the problems here, but again, these are easy to go through, and if you just look at them and read them properly, if you're not sure, just click on How to Fix. They'll tell you all the different types of solutions you can do for it. For example, Open Graph text incomplete, what you can do about it, and how can you fix it. Alright, so this is sitechecker.pro. Again, there are a lot of different types of auditing tools in the market, but this is a good one to start off with. It's a basic one, it tells you a lot of different things and more. Now, of course, there are other tools as well. For example, site monitoring. So site monitoring is a nifty tool that tells you what happens in the changes to the site. So you can see that the changes, these are all the changes that has gone through our site. So what the tool does is it crawls our site daily. So as we add new pages or delete new pages, it tells us different things. So it also tells us if when we change a certain page, did our ranking increase? Or when we delete a certain page, did our ranking decrease? What happened? So this is basically the site monitoring function. I don't really use this that much unless I find that maybe my ranking has gone haywire. I'll come back here to see what happened. So this is also useful in a way. And then we have rank tracker. Now, we have not added rank tracker to the software. Rank tracker basically helps you to look at certain keywords and to see if you're ranking for that keyword on a daily basis. And then we have backlink tracker. Now, for backlink tracker, I will first want to explain to you what are backlinks. So with this, I'm going to go back to the slides and quickly explain to you what backlinks are. So in terms of backlinks, now backlinks are basically links from another website pointing back to your site. And technically, the more backlinks you have, the more popular your site is, and that means your site ranks easier and higher on Google. So if you look at this diagram here and assume that A and B are two sites. So let's say that your site is site B and my site is site A, and the blue ones are basically other websites pointing back to our site. Now, between my site, site A, and your site, site B, which one would rank better? Now, you might say B would rank better because it has more links pointing back to it. And that is basically how backlinks work. The more links you have pointing back to your site, the higher your rank. Well, technically. And of course, you would have to get backlinks from trusted and authenticated sites as well. You can't get backlinks from a gambling or porn site. So that is backlinks. And basically, when we go back to SiteChecker, we can actually input the backlinks that we have on our site to track this. Are we losing backlinks? Are we getting more backlinks? Is a backlink giving us ranking power or not? I'm going to go and use a different type of software called Ubersuggest to show you the type of backlinks that you can track. So again, Ubersuggest is a keyword tool, but it also acts as an SEO audit tool. So to get started, I'm just going to go and sign in to my account to show you how to look at some of the backlinks that you can see inside. Alright, you can see that my site here, the lead.io is here. So I'm going to click on the lead.io and look at backlinks. Now you can see if I scroll down here, so you can see all these backlinks here. Backlinks again, to refresh your mind, is basically other sites pointing a link back to your site. So we can see from this tool, we can see all the other sites that are pointing back a link to our site. So we can see we have one TS Lim Medium from medium.com, probably his profile, pointing back a link to our site. Alright, we also have Vulcan Post, Corona Tracker, platform for coronavirus news in Malaysia and globally. The source is from this site and it points back to our site here. So that's also quite interesting, right? So we can see all the backlinks that we have pointing back to our site, and also track lousy backlinks which are pointing back to our site and try to actually remove them. So anyway, this is basically a quick way to look at all the backlinks pointing back to your site and to monitor them. Are we increasing in backlinks? Are we decreasing? And what can we leverage on further? So I know I've gone through a very basic overview of SEO auditing. Now with SEO auditing, it's basically quite technical. So you have to actually learn up the different types of technical aspects to SEO, from title tags, from HTTPS and HTTP, basically the technical parts of SEO. So what's next for you? Now, what's next for you is, I know and I understand that some of these things can be a bit complicated for small, medium business owners or marketers like yourself. You have to be a little bit technical to understand on-page SEO and to do effective auditing. So one of the first things that I'll recommend businesses like you to actually do is to hire an SEO professional to help you. So you can start off by doing a clean, easy SEO audit of your site. Take these problems and go and find someone on places like Upwork.com. That is UPWORK.com, Upwork.com. And you'll find tons of freelancers, SEO professionals that will be willing to help you work on your SEO. So don't worry about going through all the different types of technical details yourself, right? Always work smart. You can always delegate this to many people who will be able to do this better than you in a way. Now, the second option is to learn how to do this yourself, and this is something I recommend you to do as well. So instead of just outsourcing everything and have no idea about what that person or that agency is doing on your site, you need to have an idea of what's going on. What is he working on? Are we paying him the right amount? The way to do this is to pick up some of these skills yourself. So learn how to do it yourself first through a marketing course like the one we offer at Lead called Growth Marketing 360, and this is something that I teach personally. I'm not asking you to actually learn the whole SEO, technical SEO, and to do it yourself. You're a business owner, you probably don't have time for that. But what you can do is to understand the concepts, understand the keyword terms, and understand what goes on, the step, the processes, the strategy. And then, once you understand this, it will be easier for you to delegate this, outsource it to someone who can do it for you and monitor them at the same time. Now, before I leave you with this video, I want to leave you with a quick thought process, quick idea that I had when I was preparing this training. So the question is SEO auditing in demand? Now in Malaysia, not many people actually talk much about SEO auditing because it's something boring, right? They will look at the other ways of SEO like keyword research, which is more exciting. But if you look at places like Upwork, Fiverr, or just freelancer platforms, you will find typically SEO auditing packages or services range around USD 30 up to $100. So we're looking about $30 to $100 for what I just did earlier on with just one click, right? Put in a website to an SEO auditing software, click enter, and then the whole report comes up, right? And these are normally offered at $30 to $100. So if you're interested to pick up SEO auditing, you can in fact offer this as a service. And there are people actually willing to pay for SEO auditing reports, which you can do this with a software like I've shown you just now with sitechecker.pro. And you can easily charge anywhere from $30 to $100. So for example, let's just say and assume that you as a marketer, maybe as an SEO marketer, 3 projects a day at $50 each, right? You do 3 projects a day at $50 each. So $50 is, you can call it the median point between 30 to 100. Let's just call it that way. So do 3 projects a day at $50 each. That will give you $150 per day. And again, there are so many sites in the world. All of them need help with their SEO auditing. And if you do this for a month, that will give you a potential of 4,500 USD per month. If you, as assumption, right? If you assume that you do 3 projects a day, and you just saw how easy was it to actually do an audit on my site. Just put in a site, run the tool, and it shows you all the problem. Of course, some of these SEO auditors, what they do is they add in some opportunities, they add in some key suggestions that comes up from themselves after analyzing what they see from the tool. So they might come out with things like, oh, based on what we see from the SEO audit reports, you have to work on A, B, and C. Work on your title text, work on your HTTPS, right? And if you actually can extend further than that, you can in fact extend SEO services for those people. And again, remember, there are millions and millions and billions, in fact, websites in the world that needs help with SEO auditing. So I hope this presentation helped you. I hope it gives you some ideas. And if you have questions about SEO auditing, you can always drop us a question in the comment section down below, and I will see to your questions. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.